Hi, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for attending this webinar. We are extremely proud to have the crew and CEO of Workheld presenting here an extremely important subject that is moving so many parts today. I'm going to give you a little bit of an introduction of who we are as Accentec Technologies, and then we go straight into the subject of Workheld's technology, which is groundbreaking and already installed with major Fortune 100 companies in Europe, and particularly in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. It's an extremely sophisticated technology that produces extreme value. Now let me share my screen with you a bit and introduce Accentec Technologies. Accentec Technologies is a company that integrates hardware technology with software as a service to provide economic value to industrial verticals, governments, and educational institutions. So basically what we are doing, we're integrating hardware input devices, software as a service, and artificial intelligence to build an ecosystem that profits end customers. And that can be in many different ways. And one way we are showing it now is with the Workheld software. So what is it all about? What's the theme? What's the idea that we are doing? We are basically providing an IoT infrastructure system with the devices, which could be rugged tablet computers or cameras, the software as a service, and combine those into one solution that provides the most economic value to our customers. And this could be by saving tremendous amount of money, time, or use digitalization to share tacit knowledge. So here are some of the examples of the softwares we are using on the tablets, which we are also selling. Digitalized workflow management, that's what we're talking about today. Digitalized assembly and automation, digitalized inventory management, and AI technology. And all of those softwares have some form of AI inbuilt already. So there is some form of self-learning mechanisms. And so why digital workforce management? So we have studied several surveys on that subject and found out why the need is right there right now and why the need meets the technology standards that are available now. 79% of engineering companies state that the digital tools are missing, so there's a big need. 71% of companies expect to succeed due to digitalization measures. So the understanding is there is something out there, it's digital, and I can digitalize my information and create more value or streamline my organization. Only 22% of people believe they will find skilled labor. So that need, this shortage of labor, further drives digitalization and automation in today's workspaces. And 0% of the surveyed companies say they have found no way to transfer this knowledge. And this can only be done in a digital way because paper doesn't work anymore. And since the workforce is switching from job to job, we need this tacit knowledge, and this can be acquired and put in with digitalized hardware and software. And so this is just a short intro. I'm very honored today to introduce Benjamin Schwaerzler, the CEO of Workheld, and Jœrg Christoph Mathis, the Customer Success Manager of Workheld. The company is headquartered in Austria and has tremendous technology. And in that way, if we have questions after the webinar, please contact me. Here's my contact information. I will also reach out to you. We will have this this session videotaped, so you can also request a link to a video. And in that way, I thank you very much for attending today, and give it over to Ben and Jœrg, straight from Vienna.
Yes, great. Thank you very much, Volkmar. It's always exciting to work with our partners, and yeah, it's great that we have so many people in this webinar. As Volkmar has already said, I'm founder and CEO of Workheld, and with me on board today is Jœrg. And together we will start a discussion, present Workheld to you, show you how it works and what it does for our customers. I will start with a little presentation, and then later on Jœrg will give you a really solid live demo on how the system works and what you can do with it, and how it provides value for you in your company and your workers. I'm gonna start sharing my screen right now. I hope you can all hear me well, and thanks for joining. So here we are. If you have questions during the presentation or also later on during the demo, you can always use the FAQ tool of Zoom. Jœrg is there as well to answer questions. And after we're done with the presentation, we will definitely take some time to answer your questions directly. I'm just gonna get set up here with the presentation, but I think it works, and you can all see my screen right now. Yeah, Workheld really is a field service management software, but what is unique to it is that it integrates the communication part. So what you might know already as a remote expert solution is fully integrated into the apps and the solution as a whole, which means people can jump from in between checklists that are digitally filled out to video calls with experts in the headquarters. And really, that is something that goes deep in our culture, that runs in our blood. And I would like to introduce you to what we stand for and what we do with a short little video. It's just going to take 1 minute, but gives you a really good insight into what we do at Workheld.
Today's economy runs on highly efficient infrastructure and fully automated industrial production. Without it, the world would stand still. We think it's time to say thank you to the real heroes who work hard every day to make our modern lives possible. We are proud to support the men and women who keep our world moving. Making their work easier is what we do at Workheld. We strive to create solutions that make building the future and maintaining it more effortless and convenient, with voice assistance and artificial intelligence. Workheld, your solution for construction and maintenance.
So here we are. That is what we do. We really try to give the best solutions into the hands of the workers, because we believe this is key for successful plant engineering. And we have also learned that those workers, they really have the power to change a whole company, because if they get solutions that they really like, that they really want to use, it's also much easier to do this IT implementation projects. And we believe that today companies win by optimizing workflows digitally and also connect employees to their customers. And that is basically what's at the core of Workheld. You can see it in this little graphic here on the right. It is all about the apps for tablets and smartphones that the workers get. But to make them really helpful, they need a lot of information. They need information from the central ERP system. They might even need information from the machines that they are repairing and so on. So we're building Workheld to give that information about what's wrong with the machine and what they can do to fix it to the workers. But we also, if this doesn't help, we also connect it to a remote expert solution that they can call the experts in the headquarters, which also reduces travel costs because the experts don't necessarily need to go into the field anymore. They can stay in the headquarters and guide the people in the field. So it's really a unique digitalization solution that integrates with communication, but also it connects very well to ERP system and PLM systems. So SAP is one of our best allies. We are also SAP partner. We connect to SAP ERP, but also to Microsoft Navision and others. And we do all of this with individual branding, which means Workheld can come as the Workheld solution, but it can also come as your company's solution that helps to get the workers on board because they feel valued. They get a solution that is individually made for the company that they're working for and really helps in the integration implementation project. So what is it all about? We really believe that tiny little workflows that are done by the workers day by day, they should be saved and improved over time. So that is what you can do. You can do the planning through our web application. You can document the workflows and give work instructions to the workers, and they receive them on the tablets. And the good thing is all of this is always connected to the ERP system, to the work orders from the ERP system, which really enables end-to-end digital documentation and end-to-end digital processes. The reason why our customers do that is obviously that it shortens throughput times. So documentation times are completely eliminated. Everything is digital. And it also reduces the errors of the workers because they get better checklists, better guides on what they can do, what they need to do, and what they should document. Basically, Workheld consists of 3 modules, the call module, the flow module, and the Workheld store. Today, we will have a look on 2 of them. We'll have a short look onto the call module, the remote expert solution, and then we'll have a deeper look into the flow module, which Jœrg will also demo later on. For the call solution, I brought a success story with me that we did with Palfinger. Palfinger is it's an Austrian company, but globally active in over 130 countries. And they have a big network of service partners, over 5,000 service partners globally. And they were looking for a solution that they can help their service partners in case they have a difficult problem. And what we built for them is the call solution, but it was branded with the customer design of Palfinger. So it's called the Palfinger Smart Eye, and they don't really get to see that the Workheld solution is underneath it. It really helped them with difficult tasks globally. It really reduced the travel costs because the experts don't need to travel there anymore. And especially during the COVID crisis at the moment, it really helps them to allow repairs and maintenance done by the customers, even not even the service partners, but the customers, because they can also help and guide them through this data classes. So that is one thing We did, and I've brought another video that really shows you how this works for Palfinger. Don't get confused. You won't see Workheld on the solution, but it is what's underneath.
Palfinger is making a new level of service possible with its networked service tool, the Smart Eye. This head-mounted tablet with integrated camera, speakers, and display enables servicing to be performed with bidirectional live support. Hands-free operation thanks to voice commands.
Flash.
Enough battery life for a whole shift. And individual positioning for any application. A simple QR code scan connects you directly to our experts via the internet. This guarantees smooth service support. In addition to the voice connection, video chat allows users to share graphical content, documents, and notes. Water and shock resistance means that service tasks can be performed anywhere and in all weather conditions. With the Palfinger Smart Eye, our worldwide service partners are well equipped to deal with any challenge. Quick access to Palfinger expertise reduces product downtime and costs. Knowledge on demand thanks to the service tool from Palfinger. The Smart Eye.
So that was a short intro of the Workheld call module, branded as Palfinger Smart Eye. In case you have any questions about that, you can always reach out to Volkmar, and he can get an individual demo or session started so that we can have a closer look. Now jumping to the flow module, which will be the main topic for today. It really is a tool or solution to digitalize workflows for maintenance engineer and workers, assembly workers. And I have brought another success story, which is from Messer Gas, a German company that produces oxygen and other industrial gases. And they use Workheld for their internal maintenance of production facilities, but also for the customer service. So they have this gas stations at McDonald's and also at industrial production plants. And together with them, we digitalized over 1,500 assets spread out to the European Union. And they calculated that they save up to 1 hour per day per employee because they just reduced the documentation time by so much. They really had to do extensive reporting. They did that paper-based, as many still do, and documentation was really significantly reduced by doing this within the Workheld app. They reduced the personnel costs in the maintenance department by 20%, and they were really happy that they can also get business intelligence reporting over different divisions and countries. So that is something we do for the management. They get set up with the solution. We've done it in Austria already. We're now expanding to Slovenia, and then the rest of Eastern Europe will follow. And then we can build business intelligence dashboards for the management so that they can see how their countries perform. It's really interesting, but all of this does only work if the solution is set up well, if the people on the shop floor in the field like the solution, and if they actually actively use it. And for that, UI is very important. As I've mentioned already, there's different use cases, and I just want to give you a short overview of that. So what we have talked about at Messer is basically a maintenance and field service use case. Workheld Flow and Workheld Call can also extensively be used for on-site assembly and commissioning. Especially during the commissioning process, there is often knowledge is the key, because to get the plant running. It needs lots of details and lots of knowledge. And if that person with that knowledge is not at the facility, at the plant at the moment, they can always have a video call and solve that problem. And then the third case at the beginning here is machine assembly, stationary assembly, where we use the Workheld solution for digital production orders directly connected to SAP. And so we can have a fully digital flow through the production line. Yeah, here I got fortunately got a short quote of the project manager at that project at Messer. He was really happy about the documentation and how it decreased the personal costs. It was really a game changer for them because they could really finally get rid of that paperwork. But yeah, many of you probably know already that how can I say, integrating or getting solutions for field service management into the company is not that easy. But we have created a really easy onboarding process that is basically done within 2 days. That 2 days are spread apart by 1 or 2 weeks usually. First day, we take a really close look at the data and your processes. Jœrg, who will later on do the demo, is already an expert on that. And then we customize Workheld. We do that without coding. We just do some configuration work in the back, and then you will get your individually customized solution. So that is really easy. And then on the second day, you can already test it, at least in a secure environment, see if it works for you. And if it does, we can directly start into the rollout. So that's what we usually do once somebody's interested in Workheld. To give you a little background about why we're so good at this, it is because we have been doing it for a long time. We started in 2011 already, me personally, with tablet computers at the company Doppelmayr. You might know them if you are into skiing. They are a producer of ski lifts. And then 2015, the company behind Workheld Tablet Solution was founded. We got investment, we raised the investment round to build a cloud solution around Workheld. Yeah, 2016 is when that actually happened. And then Christine Gaia joined us as well from ThyssenKrupp Elevator. She was there responsible for all the field service applications at ThyssenKrupp, which was a really good strategic hire. And then 2019, we had another investment round with Kapsch Businesscom, a huge system integrator from Austria. So it's really all about smart technology and maintenance here at Workheld. And that is it already from my side. I'm quite sure that you want to know how it actually looks, and that is why Jœrg will do a demo. If there were any questions, meanwhile, I'll try to answer them now in the chat, or otherwise we can do it later on. Directly. So Jœrg, do you want to take over?
Sure. I'm just going to share my screen real quick. And now all of you should already see it. Thanks, Benjamin. I'm going to give you a quick demo of our Workheld flow module, just to give you a little bit of an insight into, well, the look and feel of our application. As Benjamin has already mentioned, usability is something that is incredibly important to us. And the Workheld flow module essentially consists of 3 major parts. There's the Workheld server, which is usually Microsoft Azure. It can also be the SAP cloud or an on-premise server. There's the Workheld web app, which is essentially the application that our back office employees will use. It's the application where you can create new work orders, where you can check done work orders, where you can also do all kinds of administrative tasks. And of course, there's the Workheld mobile app. This is the application that the technicians themselves use. It's made so it is easy to use, so it allows for very fast documentation. And it's also 100% offline available, which means that all of the functionality that I'm going to show you works just like that, even if you don't have an internet connection. which has turned out to be incredibly important, especially for field service workers. So let's just jump into the Workheld mobile app for technicians. This is how it looks like. I'm logged in as Timo Technician. And what I see here is essentially all the work that has been assigned to me. I can see it on this large map. Alternatively, I can also see it in this calendar view. And as you can see, today I'm supposed to do an assembly of a rolling machine. So let's jump right into that. In the work order overview, I can once again see my work order location on a big map. I can also see all the documents that might have been attached to the work orders. I can open them, I can scroll through them, I can zoom into them. And of course, these documents are also available without an internet connection. Then there's a list of assigned tools. These are pretty simple examples. This is really intended to be used for special tools that I might not take with me if I'm not told so. And finally, there's the assigned equipment. So this is the equipment I'm supposed to work on. And the reason why we have the equipment assigned to the work orders, well, there's two reasons. First of all, I can check out some further details about the equipment, but more importantly, all the documentation that I'm about to do will now be logically connected to the equipment. So what we get out of it is essentially an equipment history where we can look up what kind of defects occurred in the past, what kind of measurements we had, all kind of information that is very useful for me as a technician to make my work more efficient, but it is also very useful for the entire company to check, what kind of defects occur for specific types of machines, what things to look out for in general, and so on. As you can see, the whole work order is divided into 3 different work steps. And I can start my work by simply clicking on this play button here. And what happens is that Workhead jumps into the first work step that hasn't been done yet. And the time tracking is running on that work step right now. I can also document my working time manually. I can just say that I started working at 14 o'clock, for example, worked until 17:30, for example. And I can also enter a description, a break that I may have taken. I can also document the working time, not just for myself, but also for any colleagues that might also have been assigned to the work order or the work stack that I'm documenting this time for. In a somewhat similar way, I can also document my driving time. For example, I could say that I started my journey at 12, arrived at 14 o'clock. And I can not only document my travel time, I will call it travel time actually, but I can also have a proper driver's logbook. So I can enter my start location, my end location, and I can also document my mileage. And of course, I can also document my means of travel. I can also document any kinds of defects that I might find on the equipment. I'm just clicking on this defect icon here. Then I can choose a defect type and a defect category. Of course, whatever you can find in these drop downs is configurable for you. So these are just dummy values essentially. I can add a title to the defect entry. I will just simply call it defect for now. I can add a comment. I can add an additional defect description. I can add a workaround description, an order number. I can also already select the material where the defect has occurred. So as you can see, within the Workheld platform, we have a material catalog. And I could say that, for example, this piston was where the defect was at. I can also document the time loss. So for example, if I have a service agreement with my customer and then I find this defect that is definitely the customer's fault, I might want to, really document that I had to spend another 1.5 hours, for example, just to fix this particular defect, which had nothing to do with our machines being at fault, but really just some bad handling or something similar. Every time I create any type of entry, I can always attach pictures and documents, which is especially cool for a defect entry. So I could go ahead and just take a picture of the defect. As you can see right now, I'm not sitting in front of a machine, but I'm sitting at my desk, but I'm going to take a picture anyway. And once I've taken that picture, I can even annotate it. So for example, I could go ahead and say, maybe you don't see it right away in a picture, but here's a little problem that we definitely have to take care of. In a somewhat similar manner, I can also attach all kinds of different documents. So I could go ahead and just grab a couple of pictures that I already have on my device and simply attach it to the defect entry as kind of additional information. Of course, I can also document things like expenses. I can add additional measurements. I could also document what kind of materials I've used. So for example, I could look for that piston that I just said was damaged. Oh, this is the way you spell it. And I could say I changed it due to a defect. And now I have documented that I essentially exchanged that piston. And also we have an inventory in the Workheld application for me as a single technician. So my inventory will recognize the fact that I have just built in that one piston, and therefore I have one piston less in my inventory. As you can see, we're still in the first of 3 work steps, and I can move to the second work step by simply clicking on this arrow key here. And if I do so, what happens is that Workheld asks me if I want to start time tracking for the first work step and want to start it for the second work step. If I click on yes, you will see these 4 minutes that we've already worked on the first one are saved, and the time tracking starts anew for the second work step. In this second work step, we also have a list of required materials, which is also an option we have in the Workheld application. This list can either come from an ERP system or can be added manually. Now, in the last work step, I have added a checklist. The checklists work this way. You can create as many checklist templates as you want within the Workheld platform, and you can then assign them to individual work steps. And once a checklist template is assigned to a work step, I, as a technician, simply can click on it, and then I have this, well, checklist that I can fill out. So for example, in this example checklist, it asks me for a serial number of the machine I'm working on. I have to confirm that I have done a visual inspection. I have to confirm that I've done a mechanical inspection, a functional inspection. Then there are a couple of other measurements I have to enter. And finally, I have to give the exact date and time when I did this particular audit. So right now in Vienna, it's 6:30. So I'm gonna enter that. And of course, you can add pictures and documents to each one of the individual checks. So for example, the visual inspection, this is a good reason to also add a couple of additional pictures. So once again, I'm gonna take a couple of pictures of my desk. And as you can see, it is now attached to the checklist. That little number 2 up here just means that it's been attached to the second check of this particular checklist. Once I'm done with my work, I'm going back to the work order overview. I might want to set the entire work order to the status done so that everybody knows that I've actually done my work. And I might want to create a report. So I'm going to click on this button here. And here I have a list of all kinds of different report templates. We can actually offer you one of our, templates that we've already created, or you can ask us to create individual templates for you. Since we've done just done an assembly, I would say we will choose the assembly report template. Click on next. And now we have another overview of all the documentation that we have created. And you can see we've actually done quite a lot in this short amount of time. Creating a report, I can go ahead and choose to have certain entries not on the report. So for example, I could say, I don't want to have that particular defect entry on the report, or for example, I just don't want any, checklists on the reports. But of course, I can go ahead and just put everything on that particular report. I'm going to click on Generate Report now. And what happens is that Workheld generates a preview of that report for me. I can check if everything is in order, and then I can ask my customer to sign it or sign it myself. So in that case, I would sign it myself. My name is already in here. And then I can choose to also add the signature of a customer. So I would click on Save and add second signature. I would add the name of the customer. Let's call him Customer. He would sign it as well. Then I click on Save. And then we have a PDF document where all my work is documented and where I have both signatures, as you can see down here. That's essentially the workflow with the Workheld mobile app. I hope you could see that it is a very simple to use application that is still very, very powerful. And all I have to do now is click on synchronize in order to send all this information back to the Workheld server. That said, the information is going from the Workheld mobile app back to the Workheld web app. And I also want to have a quick look onto that Workheld web app. As the name suggests, it's a web application. You can open it with any kind of modern browser. I have it open right now. I'm just going to reload it real quick. I might have to log in again. Let's check. Takes some time because my internet connection seems to be somewhat slow. So here we go. I have to log in once again. And once I'm logged into the application, I am greeted by this status dashboard. It is actually divided in 3 different parts. The first part is this project part. Essentially, this is the place for all kind of, planned maintenance activities. Then there's the case part. This is where, everything that needs to be done right away is at home. And then also we have a thing called standing orders, which is usually used for internal work and can also be used to map things like, sick leaves and holidays. Going back to the project tab, as you can see, we have one project called Factory Brooklyn. This is the one project that we've just finished as a technician. This is the reason why it's in status done. We can immediately see that a defect has been documented, which is something I, as a coordinator, would be quite interested in. So let's check that out right away. I'm just going to switch over to the documentation tab. Here I have a list of all the documentations the technicians have created. And I can go ahead and just essentially filter it for defect entries. So I can have a look onto that defect entry right away, can check if something bad has happened, if everything is in order, if I need to create a follow-up order in order to take care of everything. Let's just say this wasn't all that bad. I can check the pictures just to be sure that everything is in order. I can, of course, take a look at all the other documentation entries as well. So here, for example, is our travel entry. Of course, I can also check out the checklists that have been filled out. So that would be the checklist that we just filled out minutes ago. I also have access to all the pictures and documents the technicians might have attached to the order. And last but not least, of course, I have access to the PDF reports that the technicians have created. I can just download them and then just open them like I would pretty much any sort of PDF document. So I hope you can recognize this is exactly the report that we just made as a technician. And this is essentially the workflow, how it works within the Workheld flow model. I think it's pretty simple. It's pretty self-explanatory, and it is pretty powerful. Now, as Benjamin has already said, we have a lot of possibilities in terms of configuring Workheld. This is just a list of what we call the standard configuration. So this is something that we do for pretty much any of our customers. As already mentioned, you can get Workheld as a white label version, or you can just simply get it in your own corporate design. So if you're company X, it will look like it's just an application that has been specifically developed for your company. There's also a thing that we like to call Workheld jargon. Essentially what that means is that we can configure the wording of the Workheld platform. So your technicians, your coordinators, your employees feel right at home at Workheld. Then there's the enum configuration. What that means essentially, I already mentioned it, all the drop downs, all the values that you can select, all the different measurement types in the checklists. Of course, we can configure all of that for you. And last but not least, there's the feature configuration. So any kind of function that you might not want to use or that just isn't useful to you, we can just simply deactivate it in order to make sure that the applications are as simple as possible. The feature configuration also has a certain influence on the business logic of the application, so you can really kind of choose how the application is supposed to behave when certain things happen. Last but not least, I really want to talk a little bit about interfaces, because this is always a big topic for us, as Benjamin already mentioned. Workheld is made to be used both as a standalone platform, as well as a platform that perfectly integrates with, for example, an ERP system like SAP. And the way that usually works is that we can get all the maintenance and service order information from the ERP system, and then you can refine these orders in the Workheld platform. You can execute them, you can document them, you can check them once again, and then we give all this information back to the ERP system, be it working times, be it information on the equipments and so on, just to ensure that all the information is at the right place, and to ensure that you have the possibilities to use that kind of data to gain knowledge and to make sure that your processes are as efficient as possible. And well, that will be my short demo of Workheld Flow module. I hope you enjoyed it. And I think we still have time for a couple of questions. So go ahead and ask questions.
Thank you for that great demo, Jörg. I'm not sure, I was checking the chat all the time, but I didn't see any messages, also not from the Q&A. But if there are any, I think you can either ask them now or also ask Volkmar later on. I'm also not sure, to be honest, if Volkmar can actually enable that participants can actually speak up. I'm not sure if that's possible, but Volkmar is
Yes.
muted as well.
Absolutely. So it seems to work. So everyone can text here. I see that from Tyler. So we would appreciate any questions, and if someone has a particular question at this point, I can allow him to talk if you raise your hand. Can it hear with one from Rich? Can it work on Apple products?
Yes, it's absolutely cross-platform. I'm going to answer that because I think Jörg is still muted. We currently run it on Windows tablets, Android phones and tablets, and we will have the iOS version up and running in, I think, June.
Great.
And that iOS...
Any other question? Sorry.
And that iOS version, of course, will run on both iPhones and iPads.
Absolutely. There's no way around it these days. No chance that you only do one platform. Thanks for the question, Rich. I see now also the Q&A is up. Is the app compatible with both Mac and Windows? There we have it again. So yes, absolutely. For the mobile devices, as we said already, we recommend smartphones and tablets. So iOS and iPhones and iPads, or Android phones and tablets, or Windows tablets, even with Windows 10. And for the back office, it all runs in the browser. So it doesn't matter if you have a Mac or Windows PC or any other workstation with Chrome OS. As long as you have a browser, you can give it to the back office. You can work with it, no problem. I'm gonna answer that question in the Q&A officially right now. That's the next question already. So agreed, I can run in a mixed environment. Yes, absolutely. No problem. Anyone from Europe here as well? By accident, maybe joined it. I would be very interested in that. Or is it all US based? Where are you all from?
So we have participants actually from all over the world, some from Africa who've run large mobile workforces.
Nice, yeah, I see Uganda here. Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's great. And then there is another question for typical time of implementation. Yeah, that's a very good question. I answered that, or tried to answer it in the presentation with the onboarding process. So it can go really fast. Typically, it's also a little bit dependent on the customer, to tell the truth. So if they have their information, processes, and checklists ready and well structured, can be really quick. But Jœrg, maybe you want to give a closer insight, maybe because you were really running the show there.
Well, that's basically the answer. To be honest, the bottleneck is essentially the type of processes that you want to implement as part of Workheld. Most customers, they're more or less ready to implement Workheld in terms of knowing how their processes are supposed to look like. And in these cases, we can be incredibly fast, actually. I think the fastest implementation took a little less than a week. And we're talking essentially 2 workshop days, getting to know each other, and then the system is more or less up and running, mostly because we're cloud-based. So setting up your tenants, setting up your own database and things like that, it can be done basically in no time. And of course, in an ideal case, we have time to do some training and things like that, but it can be really, really fast.
Exactly, yeah. I would say 1 week is really, really quick. Typically, it's 1 to 3 months. But as said, with good preparation, we can do really fast things.
Yeah, maybe I have a couple of questions. Number one is like, what's the biggest organization you have done so far? How many workers?
I think that would be Messer Gases. They have around 3 billion in revenue, and we just did Austria, and now we're doing the rollout through Slovenia and Eastern Europe. I'm not totally aware of the total number of workers that will be. I guess it will be, I don't know, 1 to 200 in the end, maybe even more. I'm not sure about it, but that is a typical size, I would say.
And how big can you scale it? What number of workers?
It's not really an issue. The numbers don't really bother us. We usually run it cloud-based, can be on-premise as well if it's needed by the customer or for security reasons, but typically that scales really well, so no limitation on workers. What does make sense though is that if you do a whole country or the whole US, that we create subsidiaries or departments within Workheld, so that not everyone interferes with data, so that you don't have that 1,000 workers in one list, but that only you see the ones that you're responsible for. Trying to read the messages here on the site. Since in Austria, gaming industry is very successful. do you already have experience with gaming services team? Gaming, is that, can you specify that a little more? Are we talking about,
I think, yeah.
Gaming in the casino gaming? Yeah, gambling, that's what I thought, yeah. No, we haven't, not yet. But we treat every asset the same. Basically, we can add additional asset-specific objects to actually really show that for the gambling industry, for example, that they have, I don't know, specific information data that you need to save for the asset. But we didn't work with any gambling equipment so far.
Yes, and for example, from Messe Austria, we have already a lot of experience with security relevant and security sensitive assets. So I think that's some experience that might be also very useful for the casino gaming sector.
Really good questions. I wonder where this gaming industry question is coming from.
It's coming from Munich.
Know the Austrian market very well. The Austrian, maybe even politics.
We can follow up on this later in more detail.
Definitely. Maybe you want to post your contact data again in the chat, Volkmar, or you send it later on in the email.
Yes, I will.
Yeah, well, that is a really good question from France. I think, Jörg, you mentioned it in a side note, but maybe you can answer that.
Yeah, the thing is, we know this issue all that well, and that's the reason why the application for technicians just works without an internet connection. You can do everything that I just showed without an internet connection. You need an internet connection at some point, but in order to synchronize the data, but you can do that days, even weeks later. So working, doing all the things that I just showed, it all works without an internet connection. And then once you're back in the hotel or at the office where you're kind of sure to have a good connection, you can do the synchronization. And that includes actually documents and all the things that I've shown.
Yeah, especially the report generation. So what you saw with this report, PDF report that can be digitally signed by customers or the technician, it's offline generated on the device, which is actually something I think is unique to Workheld. You have other solutions as well that pretend to work offline, but most of them in the end need an internet connection to generate that report, and we can do it fully offline. And I think there was another question in the chat. What are a couple of examples of your largest American software competitors? Maybe you even know better, but what I can tell you is that usually the ERP providers, so be it SAP, Oracle, and so on, they have some sort of solution in that space. But what we have learned is that the workers and the field engineers, they're not really happy with those solutions because they are built for back office use cases and then have some app extension, but that is not really optimized for usability, and so they don't really want to use it. And that is one of the main reasons why we built Workheld. We said, let's put the worker, the field engineer first. Let's create an app that is useful to him, that he likes to use. And in that way, we can also actually make it easier for the implementation and cut down implementation time. So ERP providers, they have some sort of solutions there. We don't see it as too big of a competition, but for sure there are solutions there as well. In SAP, it's called Work Manager.
Yeah, so maybe another question I have is like, in that regard, what you just answered is, what makes it so special for the workforce? Why is the adoption rate so good from those mobile workforce people?
Ben, do you want to take it or should I?
I'm not sure. I was expecting you to take it, but
I thought so, yeah. Well, I already mentioned that usability is a big issue here. Ben already mentioned that like big ERP systems usually have modules that do similar things than we do. And to be honest, one of the reasons why many companies decide against these ERP system modules and choose Workheld is because we can provide a simple, user-friendly application that, you know, technicians who might not be very experienced using these kind of applications can use without any trouble, can use without the need for days of training and things like that. And in addition to this, as I already mentioned, we can just configure Workheld to look and feel like it's already been part, or it's always been part of the company, so they feel at home right away. And this is actually incredibly important because this just makes the change process a lot easier and convinces technicians to give a platform like Workheld a chance. And once they do that, they realize, hey, this is actually making a lot of things for myself a lot easier, especially documentation, because most technicians, they don't like to do documentations. They want to do their actual work. And having something like Workheld that makes documenting a lot easier and faster is something that usually they appreciate a lot. Okay, then there's the question, how often do we roll out updates and new features? This is one of my favorite questions, actually, because what we do, we are in the industrial software, but we kind of behave like a consumer application in that we try to update on a 6-week basis, essentially making sure that any kind of bug, any kind of issue that we find is taken care of immediately. Of course, our customers don't need to update right away, but they always have the option. So as I said, this way we can fix issues really fast. And of course, we like to add additional features. We add new functionality. We take customer feedback incredibly serious, and we build up on that, and we try to really focus on the needs of current customers and potential customers.
And there's a very nice sentence as well. Pleasure to see a very clean, flexible software. This is refreshing. I think this goes out to you, Jœrg, as a product manager, and also making a lot of the designs and the UI. Good job.
Yeah, and that's coming from our hardware supplier, who produces the rugged tablets.
Yeah, and as far as I know, he also sells them with Windows 10 on board, which is actually also something that we at Workheld support. So many companies, they want to have their mobile devices also run Windows because they are easier to handle, or maybe can also run some specific software they need to program the machines or asset, and they can use those Windows tablets and still run Workheld very touch optimized, very easy to use application for documenting work. So that works really well, goes well together. All right. So Volkmar, you posted your email address as well. If there are any more questions, you can always reach out to Volkmar. He is the expert in how to run Workheld implementation projects. And yeah, would be great to hear from some of you.
Yeah, so if as Ben said, if there are any questions coming up, I will follow up anyway. The webinar will be also posted somewhere, and also for those who couldn't make it, being available probably on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. And I'm sure Workheld will have a place for it to share.
Yeah, of course.
So we're coming to the end of the presentation and of the webinar, and so I want to thank all the attendants, and in particular Jörg and Ben from Workheld to have such a great presentation for us. As you see, it's an extremely good product, very well designed, and already with a lot of traction in Europe. And of course, we hope to have as many implementations around the world, hopefully in Africa too, and the United States. And thank you so much for attending. I will follow up with everyone today. And then maybe I give the final word to Jörg and Ben.
I'm just gonna say thank you for joining. It's always great to have a community asking good questions, to have a discussion after a presentation. I prefer that the most, and thank you everyone for joining.
Thanks.
Have a nice day.